Okay, and instead of my introducing you, hang on one second, instead of introducing you each, I'm going to let you do that. But this question, you ready? Tell us about yourself, which means how long have you lived in Santa Clarita, what are your Republican convictions, what are your line of work, family, values, et cetera, say what you want to say.
I'm first.
You are.
Ron Keller, my name, 12 years on the City Council, 3 years on the Planning Commission, previous to that, twice as mayor. Lived here in Santa Clarita for 33 years. My wife is with me, a member, I might add. And presently, I'm making my living as a real estate agent. I have a small company over in the Canyon Country area, and I'm a retired Los Angeles police officer. Thank you.
I would like to thank the Republican Women's Federation for this opportunity to speak here, and thank you for holding this forum. I'm Tim Ben Boyston, and I know one thing, that when a Republican woman tells a Republican man what to do, you just do it. So there's my $35. And I've been a lifelong Republican, and I lived in Santa Cruz for 40 years, and I believe that I want to be a Republican because of the fact that the Republican Party is the party of Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln, and Ronald Reagan. And I stand by the ideals that they teach. And I'm trying to teach that to my daughter, reading a book right now by Dr. James Dobson on how to raise girls, and I have a 10-year-old. And I don't think this will last as far as getting her to do what I'd like her to do, but she gave me this card for Father's Day, so I want to read it to you. Thanks, Dad, for teaching me right from wrong. That's why I'm a Republican. Happy Father's Day. So, we have to reach out across the aisle to tell people what we are about. Because as Republicans, if we don't do that and be bipartisan, then we cannot tell the other side what we are about. Don't leave that to the next.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm really happy to be here today. I've been here since 1983. My mom, myself, and my brother moved out here and we moved to Canyon Country. Lived up in Sky Blue for a little bit. Went to Canyon High. So did my brother. My sister went to Hart, and my wife is also a member. She's actually a deputy sheriff out here also. She went to Valencia. I was in the Army. I was in infantry, light infantry first, as enlisted, and then I became an MP, which is military police. And I was honorably discharged as a staff sergeant. And I got out, got my 2-year degree, my 4-year degree, and then I got my law degree. And now I'm a deputy district attorney. One of the things I do believe in that's very, very important is we need to unite as a party. I am a Christian, and I do believe that we need to unite as a party. Ronald Reagan would appreciate that. We can take back California. We need to show that our party has compassion and conviction. Thank you.
Well, we have had a lot of campaign corners this time around. We've been to the Elks Club and the Moose Club and the Repertory Theater and the IHOP and a bunch of other places. I can't tell you how happy I was to be here today with my fellow Republican women at the Paseo Club for our monthly meeting. It feels so good to be here. Our illustrious president mentioned something about being with like-minded people, and I think it's even more than that. I don't know if it's a true phrase, but it's like-hearted, and I think that's where our convictions come from. It's really what's right and what's wrong, not what's right and what's left. And I think that's what drew me to this group in the beginning. There are a lot of Republican groups in the Santa Clarita Valley. This is the one that does the work, Bob and Holly, and I love that about it. I have lived here for almost 20 years. I have 3 teenage boys. I'm happily married to a man who thinks I am crazy for wanting to do this, but very supportive nonetheless. I have been blessed to serve on the council for 4 years and certainly hope to be there for another 4.
I certainly echo the support for the Republican Women Federated. I do believe that you folks are absolutely what is right with the Republicans in this valley. I'm Ed Colley, and I moved here about about 17 years ago when I retired from the Air Force. I was also prior Army, and in the Air Force I served as a space systems engineer. I decided to do kind of a major career change 17 years ago. Rather than continuing as a space systems engineer, I went into teaching, and I actually now teach right across the street. I walk over here, teach at Valencia High School. Phenomenally good job, I love it. I decided about 10 years ago to go into elected service, and I ran for the Cascade Lake Water Agency Board of Directors. I defeated an incumbent that really didn't need to go, and I've enjoyed that service ever since. So I thank you very much for coming and listening to us, and I look forward to your questions.
We're so excited to have these people here. If you could hold your applause, that'd be great. We do really appreciate you. We appreciate everything that you wanted to say. If I could only see what I need to say. Okay, here's the next one. And you got a preview of all these, so you know you got it on my heart. What specific thing would you like to see improved in the Santa Clarita Valley, and why? What specific thing would you like to see improved in the Santa Clarita Valley, and why?
You don't like this. Read all, huh? Senior services right now. You know, we do a good job for our seniors throughout Santa Clarita Valley. Guys, we build a senior center, you know, we have a lot to do over there. We need to expand the services. We have to get over the training country. It's one of the things I feel very strong about. I'm on the Senior Center Foundation Board, and also on the subcommittee for seniors within the council. And I think it's time that we roll up our sleeves and get some significant change and improvements made for our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I'm not going to say what I was going to say because Bob said it. So I get to say something else, and that is, I think that the main issue facing the city of Santa Clarita now is the planning issue. And that is a long-range planning issue because all of us, almost all of us anyway, moved here to Santa Clarita because it was a great place to live. It was a great place to bring your family and raise your family. And I'm afraid without the proper planning, and there have been some planning mistakes, that this valley will turn into the San Fernando Valley. And there are still nice parts of the San Fernando Valley. But my family moved there to here for a reason. And if we do not look at our traffic modeling, if we do not look at things like Cemex mine that we need to keep, to get rid of so that we can breathe the air, if we don't look at things like clean water for our kids to drink, these are big issues. And these issues face us, and they all have to do with good planning. So if there's one overreaching thing I would talk about is facing us, it is the planning. Listening to the people and making the right plan. Thanks.
Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm a prosecutor, a deputy district attorney. I prosecute felonies and mostly do them in the Antelope Valley. I just had a trial in Long Beach. I'm in a murder trial right now, so I have to leave a little early today. But that being said, my wife's a deputy sheriff. Most of my friends are deputies. Because of the liberal programs that have been established in our state, especially AB 109 and 117, numerous felons are now being released. They're being released on a weekly basis. I think we need a new police station. Our police station has been around since the 1970s, the early 70s. This is such a great city. We have so many great people here. We need a new police station. We need it to be centrally located to help everybody in this city and in the valley. We've had some serious crimes. We've had heroin, which is a big issue. We had a rape in Stevenson Ranch. That's serious for this community. We had a murder. That is very serious. So we need a new police station. Thank you.
Okay, tough to pick just one thing, but I'm going to say in the area of public safety, we need to make some significant changes to the programs that we have dealing with youth and drug use. Henry Mayo Hospital reported that in the last 2 years they had as many overdose cases come into the ER as they have in Parkinson's. So that's crazy. That's an enormous problem. We have programs that have been in place. I think we've outgrown them. They're a little bit outdated. I've been working with the Sheriff's Department and the Heart District and our Blue Ribbon Task Force, and we're about to unveil a new program that's going to be more state-of-the-art, more timely. It's going to involve sheriff reaching out to the kids reaching out to other kids to get the message out about drug use. Heroin is the an enormous problem. So is OxyContin. Kids are getting medications from their parents' medicine cabinets, in addition to buying it from drug dealers who frankly give it away for free because they know once the kids use heroin, they'll pay anything to use it the second time. So we've really got to ramp up our drug outreach efforts.
Absolutely agree with everything there. So an effort to pick something different. One of the things that I think is important that we improve our relationship between the city and the county. We all know that recently the county surprised, if you will, the city and city council with a suggestion that we might move our sheriff station actually outside the city limits to the northwest corner of our valley. Clearly not a good idea. It is reflective, I believe, of a continuing friction between the county and the city. And I think that, as I said to Supervisor Antonovich in the meeting I recently had with him, it's certainly our government at its absolute worst when we have competition between our local governments. And so I believe that I would be in a position, as I've been appointed a commissioner by Supervisor Antonovich, to help maybe mend and fix some of those problems.
Okay, now this question sounds similar, but it's different. Okay, the last one was, what specific thing would you see improved? This one is, what is your biggest concern facing our city, and how would you work to resolve that concern? So try to be as specific as possible. Again, what is your biggest concern facing the city? How would you do it? How would you resolve that? How would you do it?
You know, that is a tough question, and I'll tell you why. Really, I look at two issues that are huge for this community right now. Public safety, and it's been talked about here, and I think we're all in concert. If we do not have public safety, then we've got a problem out here. We're in serious, serious jeopardy of losing the quality of life that we all enjoy. So we've got to pay attention to that. But I got to tell you, if that Cemex mine goes through as proposed, the mega mine on the eastern reaches of town, guys, I cannot begin to tell you the problems it's going to create for the Santa Clarita Valley, with emphasis for the folks living in the Canyon Country region. So therefore, I tell you, we have to continue as we have. From a city standpoint, we have, I cannot begin to tell you how hard we have worked to win this battle on behalf of this community, that we have not won it yet. And therefore, I tell you, we've got to reach out to all of the resources. We're getting down to crunch time. We have got to win this battle.
I want to speak to something that's it's a critical issue. It hasn't been talked about in the campaign a lot because people say, well, that's not the city council's responsibility. And that is the education of our children right now. All the things that are on the burner right now, today, this is one of the biggest challenges. I want to thank Scott Council for bringing that up because we're talking a massive cut to education. And we moved here so that our children could have great educations. And the problem we see now is that the cuts are hitting us locally. So we need to use our bully pulpit at City Hall to collaborate and to encourage and support whatever the solutions are that are brought up by our various educators, by various boards of education across our valley. Because if we don't fix the educational system, we don't make sure that they have the funding and the resources that they need, then our future is in jeopardy because our kids are our future.
One of the main reasons I got involved in this election is because some of the deputies who were friends of mine came and talked to me in my house. And one of the main things they talked about was drugs. A lot of people don't see it because if you're in a house where you don't have young kids or you're working, no one sees drugs. They're not flying everywhere and they're laying on people's lawns. However, we now have seen it. And how have we seen it? Because young people have died. So when you have young people who are dying, now all of a sudden people are talking about it. But I'm going to tell you something. Drugs have been here for a while. I'm serious. And a lot of it's coming because the cartels come through San Diego. And that's what they do. That's how they make money. They're seriously now preying on our young people, especially heroin, because you can smoke it because it's very potent. I'm going to ask all of you to really look at this issue, talk about it with everybody, and and get together and try to come up with a solution to help everybody in this community.
I think the biggest problem facing our city is what was the biggest one facing the entire country, and that's the economy. A couple of years ago, we unveiled as a city a 21-point economic recovery plan. We were one of the only cities in the state of California, in fact in the country, to do this. We're recognized nationally for having done it. And stepping outside of what we normally do in the day-to-day and working with businesses, working with Economic Development Corporation to say, how can we survive this? How can we come out of this whole and ready to go once the economy turns around? So I've asked city staff to come back and look at an update. We're actually having this on our agenda tonight. And it's going to be an update on 8 of the points on there. That, okay, where are we now? Where do we need to go? What are we doing as with regard to economic development? Bringing new businesses with high-paying jobs into the community, and also filling the vacancies that we have throughout Santa Clarita. And so making sure that we have jobs, hopefully local jobs for people who live locally, and anything we can for the economy is key.
My biggest concern at the moment that I think would be something we need to take action on immediately is the chlorides in our wastewater. The estimates to fix this problem range from somewhere around 200 million to 500 million. The 500 million is probably, as government estimates go, on the low side. Working in the Cascade Lake Water Agency Board of Directors and other stakeholders in the community, we've been working on this problem for over 2 years. We recently have completed a study that tells us that the assumptions that these Regional Water Quality Control Board uses in their model are simply flawed. And so we need to go back to the negotiating table. We need to go back and really deal with reality on what the real problem is. And that would be one of the first things that I would do.
You are such a polite audience. I want to applaud you for being so kind and letting our speaker speak. The next question is a little outside the box. It's not a political question necessarily, but it is a leadership question. And like Moses or Reagan, they were leaders. And the question is, the city council works as a team. Can you hear me? I know that's a good ear, right? The city council works as a team to make Santa Clarita a winner. We are a winner, right? So what leadership style do you bring to the table to impact the city council so that it is an effective team?
Courage. No coaching candidates.
Have you noticed this particular election, how much discussion there has been about listening to the people? Been a lot of discussion about it. I'm going to do something. I'm going to ask you, do I listen to the people?
Yes.
And my point being, I consider that leadership. Yes. It is interacting, knowing what the issues are, reading about them, listening to the people, and making informed decisions. It's not necessarily having to vote with the other council members, ladies and gentlemen. It has no measurement. It is an informed vote and listening to the people that counts. I've done it for 12 years. I'm going to do it for 4 more.
This has been one of my major campaign platforms, is how we interact with the citizens that come before us at the council level. And it's the reason what Bob just said, why I support Bob. Because he does listen to the people. And I understand, everyone understands, that when you need to accomplish something, you need 3 out of 5 votes. And you must do that. And I did that when I was on the council for the short 16 months I was there. I got the 3 votes needed because you go and you convince people that this is a good idea. So you do work together. But on the other side, if our city council is just to be a rubber stamp, then that is not government. It's not a softball team with the city manager as the manager of their team. No, it's each one is an individual who has to listen to you, because we don't work for the team that sits up there. We work for you. And if that means disagreeing, that means disagreeing, and then going with the majority majority after they make the decision. Thank you.
There's many personal characteristics that I think is important, such as honor, integrity, and character. However, what I've learned just from the short time of being around a lot of really good people who are very involved in city politics, especially people in the Republican Party, there's one thing that's missing. It's respect. We have to all respect each other. As a prosecutor, when I get my team together, my investigating officer, the deputies, the victims, the witnesses, I'm not screaming at anyone, even though I'm in charge. I'm not telling them how to testify. We get together as a team and we work together and we have a mission. It's to put criminals away and to make the streets safer and to do it the right way. And that's what we need here, especially with our party. As leaders, we need to show as a Republican Party that we respect one another.
I think the question, as I heard it, was leadership amongst the council members and how does that work? And truly, it's one of the things I like the most about our city council. There are 5 members. They can have 5 distinct backgrounds, points of view, places where they live. And I like that because we are representing an enormous community. And I know Bob and I have talked about this. His constituency base is very different than my constituency base. How awesome is that the 2 of us can come together and bring those points of view? And the 5 of us may not always agree. God knows we don't always agree. But remember that the topics that come up for discussion at a council meeting are not discussed before the council meeting. So the first time the 5 of us have ever talked about anything is sitting there in public, on TV, in front of everyone, trying to build some sort of a consensus. That is not easy. It should be done with respect. I respect each of the 4 council members that I work with, whether I agree with them or not.
I will continue the leadership style that I have done in public service for my entire adult life, in particular the elected service I have done on the Cascade Lake Water Agency. The Water Agency works very, very hard to seek as much public input as we can possibly get. We do have citizens that come up that want to talk about rate hikes or other issues, and I'm very proud of our board that we always listen attentively. We're able to answer their questions and work together. The Cascade Lake board is larger, so there's probably more personalities and more challenges, and yet we are able to treat each other with respect and work towards doing what's best for the citizens of this valley. And as a leader in the community, I always would expect myself to continue that, and if elected to the city council, I will continue that into the future. Thank you.
All right, some of you touched on this just now, but I'd like to reiterate a question. And that is that many of the citizens, your constituents, don't always think that the city council follows their desires or their wishes. They feel that they follow their own agenda. The city council follows their own agenda. How will you work to represent your constituents and be more representative of the citizens you serve? I want to know some specifics here. You know, we can talk about, I want to reach the aisle. How do you do that? How do you work to represent your constituents and be more representative of the citizens you serve?
Making yourself available to the community, I think is a key aspect of it. We sometimes have a smile on our face when we call a particular booth over in Cocos in Canyon countries, City Hall East. And it's because, ladies and gentlemen, frequently, as a matter of fact, about 3 or 4 days usually out of the week, I'm meeting with citizens talking about a variety of issues affecting our community. It's a source, a meaningful source of information. Listening to the people that come down to the council meeting, extremely important. Reading all of the background material, reading the newspaper, knowing what's going on in your community, and ultimately voting your conscience. And that is to the best decision you can make. Not only for the seniors, not only for the families, not only for the children, but for everybody concerned. Thank you.
reaching out to the citizens and letting them know that you're there. Specific examples of that are what I have been doing for the last 5 years in the political arena. When I was on the council, I took the time to listen to every person that came before us and treated them with respect. If I did not understand what they were saying, I would go look it up. I would ask questions and ask questions and ask questions and know what I was talking about and know where everyone stood when I made a vote. And then when people would come to me and say, hey, we have a problem in our neighborhood up in Canvas, Linda Vista neighborhood, for instance, in Canyon Country, I would go there. I went there and looked at the traffic issues. I looked at the crime issues that they were talking about there. When the people over on the Cowgirl corridor called me up and their coalition called me up, I went there. I listened to what they said. I looked at the project they were having exceptions to. When the people in Singing Hills called me, the citizens, and said, help us make the city listen. When I was off the council, I went there. I walked the street with their picket lines. That is how you serve your citizens. You're there for them.
I think what some of these questions show is that we do need new, young leadership, different types of people to come into city council and change things up a little bit. Really go out there and talk to people and find out really what's going on and how to help people. I've talked to thousands of people out there, even going to their door and talking to them. People have real issues and real concerns, and they want to talk about them. They want to at least have you hear what they have to say. I think also I represent a lot of people in this community who work. And people who work every day can still come up here and represent the city and city council. And so a lot of these individuals who work, who go to work and come home, who are not as involved, I think they want to be more involved. I think part of our job as council members is to go out there and talk to them. Find out what's going on, see how we can help them. I'm young, I can run all over the place, I've been talking to a lot of people, and I think that's important to go out there and talk to them. Thank you.
Being a city council member is my full-time job, apart from being a mom. And I think that the key to listening to people is going out where the people are. We have a meeting twice a month, and people come to City Hall and can voice their opinions on every item on the agenda or items that are not on the agenda. And that's a part of what we have to do. But another part of it is being out in the community, listening, talking, sharing ideas, getting feedback. This morning I was over at Valencia United Methodist Church for their mom-to-mom meeting. 100 moms in there taking questions, talking about their concerns and things they wanted to know about the city. That's what I do, and bringing that voice back. And so that the 5 of us sit there, representative of the entire community, and hopefully make a collaborative decision, respectfully listening to the people that we've talked to, and keeping in mind that we are making decisions for everyone in the community, not just the people at the meetings, not just the people that voted, but everyone.
Certainly agree with everything that's been said. It is very important for us as leaders in the community to be out in the community, listening to you, to seek as much information as we can, to go to the various meetings. I know, for example, that the Canyon Country Advisory Committee, while I certainly don't agree with everything that's ever been said at those meetings, I go to the meetings as often as I can to listen to another side, another point of view, if you will. And I think it's important that we have our elected officials out in the community doing those kinds of things. And I agree that it's not just the 3 minutes in front of the city council where you have typically the same constituency group speaking over and over again, but seeking input from the community out in the community is a critical role for any city council person.
We are so fortunate to have these quality candidates, aren't we? So in looking at these quality candidates, here's my last question, then we'll go on to yours. Why would voting for you be a wise choice?
I believe it would be a wise choice because we will continue to do great things together for this community and for this city. And all we have to do, ladies and gentlemen, is for those of us that have been here for more than 5 minutes, is to drive across this community and think about all the things we've been able to accomplish since cityhood. It is huge, and we're not done yet. We're just warming up to this. There's a lot of great things to accomplish as we go into the future. Many of the things have been touched upon. I believe I have the background, the knowledge, and the desire. And even though I may not be the youngest guy in the room, I got a lot of steam in my engine. And we get it done together. Thank you.
I think that the best thing I can tell you about why it would be a good idea to vote for me, please, would be because I'm going to listen to you. Okay, you don't have to have a lawyer standing next to you. You don't have to represent a big multinational corporation. You just have to be a citizen of Santa Clarita. And you're going to either call me or email me or write me or stand in the council chambers, and I'm going to listen to your problem and I'm going to try to solve it. It's also a good idea to vote for someone who has a plan. I do. Go to timben.com to get more information, or look on this brochure. There's some right over here, or you may have gotten one on your doorstep by the many, many volunteers who are passing these out in the past few weeks. And there's a 12-point plan that I have for making Santa Clarita a better place. So these are a couple of good reasons, and one really important reason why it would be wise is because I've been blessed to be married for 20 years to a wonderful woman, and I listen to her.
Touche, Bob. Good answer. I'm going to stand up for this. I have two things that happened this past week that I think are real important. That just talk about why you should vote for me. One is I've been walking around door to door. A lot of people have been helping me. Some of them are here today. And one of those individuals, I was getting really tired, and I had a headache, and I kind of had enough. And I'm an infantry person, but one of those individuals who's watching everything to me said, "Hey, if we lose by 10 votes, how would I feel?" And that person believed in me. And I kept going. And I went to a church, a Hispanic church, on Sunday, after my church, and I shared communion with the congregation. And I brought friends of mine, and I brought other people and leaders. And that pastor got up, and I talked to the congregation, and I didn't know him, and he believed in me. I believe in you as a community. I believe in this city. And I'm going to ask for your vote. Thank you.
I think it would be wise to vote for me because things are pretty terrific in the city of Santa Clarita right now. I know there's a nationwide trend that we want to get rid of some of the people who loop things up. We've had balanced budgets, on-time budgets every single year here. We said we would build a cross-valley connector, and we did. We said we would purchase open space and improve trails and parks, and we have. We said we would work closely with our sheriff's department to address the changing needs of our community, and we do. And I think one of the arguments, or the arguments that you'll hear from the challengers, are really are more personality-based and less in substance as far as what's going on in our community. This is a terrific community. Our city is doing a great job. Can we improve? Always, every day. We'll continue to do that. I think we have a terrific team sitting together on the city council. I hope to continue doing that, and I think, yes, it would be a wise choice to keep Santa Clarita going in the positive direction that we are.
On the front of my brochure, you can pick up over here, I talk about a life of service. I have spent every day of my adult life serving others. I started off in the Army and went over to the Air Force later on. I moved here. I worked with many charities. I work as a school teacher, and I have served in elected office. And so the history of service that I have shown, I think, warrants your consideration as a possible vote. So again, I would ask that you pick up a brochure, or you can see a lot more about my life and what I have done, and frankly, quite a few details that other candidates aren't willing to put on the website. They simply go to www.college.com. Thank you.
Okay, and did everyone who has a question hand it in? Is there anybody else that would like to ask a question that hasn't been up? Okay. Otherwise, what I'd like to do, and John, I know you have to leave early. quickly, and we have a few more minutes, is to each give you one of the questions. And if you don't like it, then maybe you can just change the next to you. But then you would then read the question and answer it. And then if we have some more time, we may let them answer it again. Okay, so you're going to read the question and then give an answer.
Many constituents feel that the council does not respect them or their opinions. How can that change? And I think we've touched upon this very well. It changes by maybe modifying how we conduct our business, particularly as we look at it in the public light, ladies and gentlemen. I know that as we discussed earlier, a lot of this has come as a result of feelings emanating from the council chamber. And, we have to listen. We've got to pay attention. We cannot be texting. We cannot be exchanging notes with one another. We have to look the citizens in the eye, listen to what they're saying, and move forward. By doing that, they will know that they have our respect, and it needs to be a mutual concern, of course. Thank you.
Okay, how do you feel about moving the sheriff's headquarters to Castaic, and why? I think that if the sheriff's station were the only sheriff's station in the Santa Clarita Valley were to be in Castaic, that would be a very bad idea. I'm not sure who thought of that, if they thought it's the only one, but apparently, from the reports, it's not supposed to be the only sheriff's station. I think the best thing to do with the sheriff's station is to put it right in the middle of the city, since it is the city sheriffs. We contract with the sheriffs. They do a fabulous job for us. So I think the sheriff's station would be in the center, kind of on perhaps over by where the speedway is in that area, because that's the center of the city of Santa Clarita. Then additional sheriff's station or substation out where the new courthouse is going to be built out on 126, because there's a lot of cost savings and a lot of efficiencies that you gain by putting those two things together because of the prisoners that they hold for hearings and whatnot at the courts. So I think it's really, really important that we have a new sheriff's station and a bigger sheriff's station, and I'm hopefully going to be one of your leaders that's going to be one of the people that will help them build a great big new sheriff's station, but right in the middle of our city to serve our citizens.
The question is, should the office of the mayor be elected by the voters? I believe in a representative government.
Yes.
And that's what I believe in. And based upon the fact that I like that there's 5 city council persons and there's an actual rotation, one a year gets to be the mayor. And it has to be that way. There's no like shenanigans where you now decide to change it or people want to change how it should be. It should be an actual rotation. Each year, one of the council persons gets to be the mayor. Even if you don't like that person, they still get to be the mayor. The reason I believe in that is when you vote for all 5 council persons, at least once a year, you have somebody who's a little different, who brings something a little bit different to the community, who adds something that's different, and it can help a portion of the community that their constituents voted for that person. So I think that's really, really important. In the future, if there's some studies, maybe things could change, but as of right now, I think things are working pretty well as long as they follow the actual rotation. Thank you.
It's hard not to answer the question that the person just said. If you were elected, what would you do to keep the Cemex plant from opening? I'm very, very, very frustrated about this. I don't know how many of you were here about a year ago when Senator Boxer came out and was all, I'm going to save the day, aren't I, bomb, and your congressman's not doing anything for you. And so she introduced this piece of legislation that's sitting somewhere probably underneath the catalog on her desk. She's done nothing with it. I'm so frustrated with that. I think she's in a position of power right now in the Senate. I'd love to see her have a hearing, try to push this forward. I've met with Congressman McKeon's office and with him personally, and I know that they are willing to try to come up with a solution. We are banned because of the earmark situation from doing the bill that we had previously done before, but I know the Congressman is ready and willing to take anything we can move forward. We need to push Barbara Boxer. She is in a position of power. I think she can get something done for us. She's respected in her party. She's got the majority there, and I'd love to see her move ahead with it.
My chart actually has two questions on it, so I'm assuming I'll get 2 minutes, so I appreciate that. First question is, how do you place your personal views on hold and have them not interfere with the political climate? Obviously, my personal views are going to be a part of any decision I would make. Listening to the people, looking at my own personal values are all part of what would go into a decision. So I certainly don't include in that my own personal selfish best interest as my personal views. I think it's important that I leave those aside. The second question, how are you going to balance all of your hats? I guess the law helps me with that one a little bit. My Castaic Lake Water Board service would have to end if I'm elected to City Council. That is by law an incompatible office. And so I would, by taking the oath for City Council, I would have automatically resigned my Castaic Lake Water Agency hat. I would say additionally, the idea that busy people oftentimes are ones picked to get things done, because I do have the ability to juggle the many hats, many things that I do in the community, and I enjoy all of them a great deal.
I was thinking there was another question coming. Anyway, okay, so this is for all of you. What improvements are proposed for the Canyon Country? What would you propose? Like, office space, police station, rec center, restaurants, etc. What improvements would you propose for Canyon Country?
There's a couple hot butts going on in the Canyon Country area right now, ladies and gentlemen. And again, public safety is right up there at the top. Another issue is a community center similar to what we have over in the Newhall area. We need one in Canyon Country for our youth. It is the right thing to do. It helps to keep the kids off the street. And it is all part and parcel of working for public safety. It's just a very, very beneficial thing to have. Along with that, we need a new senior center in the Canyon Country area. One single senior center. When you look at the city, we're 53 square miles. And it's very difficult for people in Canyon Country to go all the way over to Newhall. And I dare say some of the far reaches of Saugus, we're missing those folks entirely. So again, we need to plan and see what we can do to get 2 senior centers and serving our community out here. Thank you.
What he said. Look, those are the things there on my 12-point plan. You can read them. So thank you, Bob, for bringing a couple of them. I will just add another thing. It has to do with the economic viability of any community. And that is, we really need to work with some developer interests to create an area that has a little more upscale shopping and upscale restaurants. In Canyon Country, that's been lacking for a number of years. It seems like for those people in Canyon Country, all the marbles rolled to this end of the valley. And that wasn't by accident, that was by design. The people who were designing down at this end of the valley were doing a really good job being out there recruiting. And so, in as much as the city can work to facilitate the recruiting of upscale restaurants and shopping in perhaps a new area or a refurbished area in Canyon Country, I'm sure all the citizens out there, myself included, would really appreciate that. So we don't always have to drive over to Valencia and make sure we stay before we go over the freeway so their tax dollars stay here and shop here. So
I agree with both Bob and Tim. I live in Canyon Country. My wife lives in Canyon Country. We need a community center, obviously. The second thing is we need a police station, obviously. Those are 2 pretty easy things that anybody who lives out in Canyon Country, anybody who grew up out there knows that we need that. My mom lives in Valencia Hills. I always have to drive to Valencia. My friends always have to drive to Valencia to do things. We should have more stuff in Canyon Country. But I'll break away from it a little bit. And one thing I would like to see in Canyon Country is the Cabela's. I like to fish. I like to hunt. I like to shoot. So I was in Nebraska for 4 years, and that's a great store, great place. And so I'd love to have one of those in Canyon Country. It'd be great, and a lot of people like that store. And so for me, that would be a That's all.
Fishing and that's it could tell us like yes. The thing about Canyon Country, the numbers are, I think over half of our residents live in Canyon Country. So you're not talking about a tiny little neighborhood. It's a huge area, and it's got a lot of different parts to it. So I want to talk about Sand Canyon in particular. We're trying to do some outreach to the community there to deal with people who are speeding on Sand Canyon Road. There may or may not be drugs and alcohol involved. There may or may not be teenage boys involved. But that's a huge thing that we're addressing right now. That road is a dangerous road, and it's one that you have to drive carefully and not to speed on. So we're doing some outreach there. We will hopefully in the next couple of weeks be looking at finalizing a deal for what will be our community center. We may not call it that in Canyon Country, which can address some immediate needs that we have there. There's certainly more work to be done with economic development and bringing Cabela's and other things out there. I think we've done a great job with the Golden Valley area, with the shopping center there, and bringing some things to that part of town. I think we have to really break Canyon Country up into smaller pieces and look at what each neighborhood needs. I want to add one other thing. I did talk to a woman this morning who lives in Canyon Country and had a lot of parks concerns, and so that's going to be something we need to address too, is parks in Canyon Country.
Well, I certainly get the privilege of being last here, so I think John may have gotten my second vote with the Cabela's idea. As a fisherman, that's a great story. So, what hasn't been said is what we do not need in Canyon Country, and that is the mega mine. We do need to work, as others have said here today, as diligently and as hard as we can to eliminate or at least get the mega off of the mega mine. We certainly could live with the historic mining levels, and perhaps that's something we need to do to talk with with Cemex and try to get them to scale back and extend the timeline on that mine so that we're not a huge regional mine, rather we're serving the actual builder needs in our valley and not much else. So I thank you very much. And
Paige, I'm going to have you read this one. I lost my reading glasses this morning. These are actually just my movie watching glasses.
Don't tell me that. That's for movie glasses. What can we do to protect our children from the many sex offenders we have living in this valley? With the stay on Megan's Law, sex offenders may live anywhere they want. Reporting can be misleading as they must register at one location and stay at another home during the day. How would you fix this problem?
No, I don't make any law, folks. Let's go on this one. It is a problem, and if you go into the computer and play around with some of those websites, I got to tell you, it's a little argument as to how many we do have. And I go back to a basic concept, and it's all part of being just an old retired cop. We do a pretty good job of picking up the bad guy on the street. We do a pretty fair job of getting through the criminal justice system through the courts. We do a pathetic job of keeping them behind bars where they need to stay to protect our children. And that is where we need to focus a lot of our attention. I made this comment the other day, and it's a terrible comment to make. This is one time I will reach and pull another dollar out of my pocket, build more jails, because we need to keep these kind of slime buckets off the streets.
Bob made a comment the other day about it, and on this subject, I have to agree with him. This issue is such a difficult issue for us locally because our hands are somewhat tied when the state goes and passes laws, or our liberal state court passes law and takes the laws and says these are not constitutional, or there's a problem with this. You know, the will of the people in California has been thwarted so many times by the courts. It is so frustrating to be a Republican who is pro-family, and we want to look out for our children. We pass a law, and then the courts invalidate it. only solution we can do is to keep working with the state, keep working with our state legislatures, keep helping elect those people so that we can turn the tide, keep passing the laws that then go forward and try to overturn what the court is going to do for us. So that is the way to go. We don't stop fighting.
This issue to me is very, very important. I have prosecuted sex offenders. Personally, I believe in mandatory castration. That's my opinion. I would ask all of you, if you want to see me in action in trial, come up in Antelope Valley, because I don't play, and I bring out my infantry MP style, and I bring it, and I put criminals away. When it comes to child molesters, I'm going to say one thing that rips the heart and soul out of a child for the rest of their life. And I've talked to children and put them on the stand who have been molested. And you should all think about that. We got a serious problem out here, I'm telling you, with Facebook, with MySpace, with a lot of crazy people out here preying on children. If you want, as our party, to take back this state, you need to start talking about law enforcement. Because we will win when you talk about law enforcement. We will win if the Democrats are letting out sex offenders. We will win if they're passing AB 109 and 117. We will win if all these criminals are coming out and attacking our families. That is where you will win. Instead of fighting one another, and I'm new to this, instead of fighting one another as a party, let's join together and unite and help people who can't protect themselves. And that's the children. And this party, our party, can be leaders in that. Sex offenders are sick pieces of you know what. I'm a Christian, so I'm not going to say what they are, but I will prosecute them to the fullest. As long as I'm a deputy district attorney, my wife will go after them as long as she is a deputy sheriff, and all my friends will go after them as long as they are sheriffs. And even as an independent citizen, we have rights, and if I see anybody doing anything to kids, the beat down's coming. So I'm not going to allow that to happen. Thank you.
Okay, John, there's a reporter here from the city,
Oh,
so
that's
I'm just
okay.
telling you now.
John has a date. So that's why I came next 3 minutes just to say goodbye.
And that's okay, the signal's here, I'm a prosecutor. We all pay me. I work for the people. And part of my job is to protect the community. And I'll do that to the fullest extent of the law that I can. Because that's my job, to passionately fight for you. I want to read you something. Some of you don't know that I'm a Christian, and I haven't really talked about it that much, but there's a chapter in John. Found John. There's a chapter that I really like. At dawn, he appeared again in the temple courts where all the people gathered around him, and he sat down to teach them. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. In the law, Moses commanded us to stone such a woman. Now what do you say?" But Jesus bent down and started to write on the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until only Jesus was left, with the woman still standing there. Jesus straightened up and asked her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, sir," she said. "Then neither do I condemn you," Jesus declared. "Go now and leave your life of sin." Let's stop throwing stones. Let's get together as a party, and let's work together to take back California. Thank you. Sorry, I have to go. I have to go get a murderer, so.
Okay, do you remember the question? Okay. Sex offenders. Thank you for allowing him an extra moment. Okay, so we're going to carry on.
I think it's been said, and it's a good point, we have to work closely with our legislators and enact as tough laws as we can. Senator George Runner was a huge advocate for this. I know Cameron Smythe has been. I met with one of our local nonprofit groups a couple weeks ago who's working on a new program. John said something about Facebook. It's so much more than just those people who've been released who are going to show up on our Google Maps. If those are the only people we had to be worried about, at least we can sort of keep an eye on them. But there are a lot of predators out there, and we need to do a better job educating parents and teachers and the kids themselves. What's okay, what's not okay. Look what happened at that school in Los Angeles. How was it that those kids didn't realize what's happening is not okay? The kids didn't talk to their parents. The parents weren't picking up on what that was. So we need to enact some sort of an education program so that we realize where the line's being drawn. And the internet has created a whole new issue in all of that.
Certainly agree, it's a multifaceted problem. It involves legislation, it involves law enforcement. But I'm going to take off where Mayor Enders sort of left off there. I suggest that it is something that's very appropriate for our schools to engage in. As a matter of fact, it is something that I've more or less on my own instituted in my own classroom, where I do teach kids the appropriate use of technology, and I work with them in an effort to understand some of the benefits and dangers of things like Facebook and the internet. So I believe that we can expand those efforts into the high school. I believe that we can also get down to the elementary school, teach kids safer habits, teach them to report when they're feeling uncomfortable, teach them to run away from those that they feel might do them harm, and bring those skills to our school children.
Right. And now, for the last and most important question of them all, our president would like to ask you a question.
I want to thank you all so much for coming, and we wanted to kind of end on kind of a light note. And so, since you have been through so many forums that you can't even remember, we wanted to end this with, when this is all over and you were able to take a dream trip, where would that be?
Dream trip. It's been quite a long time since I've been back to Germany. Do still have friends there, so I think that would be where I would certainly like to go. More realistically, perhaps I will be going again fishing, passing by Cabela's in Colorado on my way, and going up to Montana fishing.
Well, I'm going to do what I did 4 years ago, and I've already got it planned. The day after the election, I'm taking the day off. I have it scheduled at, well, it wasn't Lynette, Ivy, now it's the Ivy. I'm going to take my 3 girlfriends who've been helping me day and night work on this, and we're going to go have massages, and then we're going to go out to lunch, and then hopefully the next day I'm going to get back to work again. So that's my dream day.
I'm going to Disneyland. And I'm not kidding, that's where I really am going to go. Because I asked my daughter, this is a conversation we had a couple of weeks back, and I was just asking her that question. If you could do anything, because you know summer's coming up, and she's old enough now to decide the thing she wants to do. So I said, if you could go anywhere, do anything, you could go across the country, because we'll have a couple of weeks, hopefully. And what would you like to do? Where would you like to go to? And I thought, maybe Colorado, where the relatives live. I thought maybe the nation's capital, because of the history, and we've been trying to stoke her up about that. But she said, Disneyland.
Kathy, will you stand up? Stand up. Where would you like to go?
Where would you like to go? On a cruise.
I want to do the best.
And to conclude our morning, we have
So, your last moments with us, what would you like to say?
Well, it's been a privilege to be here, and I mean that most sincerely. As we have an opportunity, we've had a number of them go out and meet with the community, and it does give us a great opportunity to interact and listen to you as well as you're listening to us. Having said that, perhaps you saw Sunday Signal. There was a little ad on the back page, full page, with over 500 endorsements for my campaign. And I will tell you, I very much would love, if you're not already on it, I would love, if you're comfortable with it, to have your endorsement as well. And if you just go to bobkeller.com, hit the button endorse, and it's done. I would be very, very honored. I'm hoping to hit 1,000. We're going to print that page one more time just before April the 10th. And I'm committed to you, ladies and gentlemen. If you re-elect me, I promise I'll do my absolute best to do what's right for you and all of Santa Clarita. Thank you.
Okay, I got to stand up, but I promise I won't preach. Well, I might preach. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out because, I mean, to take the time out of your life and your day, when you could be doing so many other things, and to dedicate it to the political process and trying to make our city and our county, our state, and our country better, I applaud each and every one of you ladies and gentlemen who are part of this club. I want to say that I have a lot of background. I've worked for the government, I've worked for a private company, and I've worked for a nonprofit organization serving our valley for about the last 14 years as the executive director. And I will put all those things to use so that I can always know the issues and I can always listen to you with respect and always make the very best decision that I can for each and every one of you. And, you know, John said a couple of things about, taking back the party and being a peacemaker, and I agree with that. But I also want you to remember that when a certain gentleman was going through the temple and they were desecrating the Father's house, he turned the tables over. He stood up. I will stand up for you.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here today. I'm going to just lay it out there. I am not perfect. I am not a politician. Sometimes I say the wrong thing. I have put my size 8.5 in my mouth more than once during this campaign, and I probably will do it again. I am a citizen who wants to serve the citizens. Community service is and always has been my passion. My heart is in the right place, even though sometimes my words are not. And so I asked for your forgiveness for the times when I misspeak, and just to tell you that this community means the world to me. There are a lot of things that all of us could be doing right now. There are a lot of different nonprofits that I'd be devoting a lot of time to, but what's most important to me is maintaining our quality of life, keeping Santa Clarita a wonderful place to live. I hope that I have a chance to serve you for 4 more years, and ask that you pick up one of my brochures on the way out and visit my website, which is loriender.com. Thank you.
I have said many times, Republican Women Federated is my absolute favorite Republican group. I think somebody said earlier today, one of your leaders that pointed out the absolute truth, that you folks do more work and to further the Republican cause, I believe, than the combined total of all the rest of the clubs. So I applaud you. I thank you. I really feel that you folks are the most important folks in this room. I ask for your vote on Election Day. I ask that you could pick up a brochure, and failing that, I ask that you go to my website. Again, I've put an awful lot of information on there. I've tried to put a lot of details that you, as I say, the hiring authority, you have a right to know who it is you're hiring. And I would ask that you go to my website and learn more about me and vote between now and April 10th. Thank you very much.
For you,
I just wanted to say, you're thanking us. We want to thank you. It is for you are the private citizens that are willing to represent us. And so we want to thank you also. We hope you enjoyed the morning, you yourselves. We hope you enjoyed having lunch with us. And then we also have certificates for each one of you that says Santa Clarita Republican Women, recognize and appreciate, and then your name, March 2012 SCRW City Council Forum. So thank you so much. We hope you'll put this in your office, up on the wall,